but I still don't have the LinkedIn permit, which is very annoying. Yeah, but I'm trying to get it. So yeah, we're live 7. So basically what we were talking about, it was live anyway. So hello everybody. Thank you so much for those who are joining in. Please share out. So how you can do that on Facebook is that you share and then you publicly put that on your timeline and wall and post it there. And if you want to listen to it right now and do that later, what you can do with that is that you can wait for it to end. This will then be available on my page as a normal post. And then you can share it out and start a watch party of your own. So it's like live on your own page. So yeah, you can use this and you can start watch parties even a year after we have done this. Well, I think that would be cool. So yeah, today we have Kurt Kruger on and we're talking about peace. And I think this is the first time that we're like really having a conversation, because it's usually me hosting the panel discussion, or it's usually me that is the interviewer. But this time, this is going like both ways. We both have questions for each other. That's just going to come. I haven't written down any questions. So it's going to come naturally to me, or I'm just going to say it. I don't have any questions. Please keep going on. So yeah, we've got some people watching, and I feel like you should start with your short introduction, and then we can come back right to our conversation.
I'm Kurt Kruger. I founded the Institute of Sports Psychology in 1982 in Bombay, India. I formed the Success Systems International a year later. One is for sports, the other is for life, businesses, corporations, that kind of thing, as well as human life, so that we could all learn to thrive. I'm all about making life thriving rather than just surviving. We, and I'm saying we, because if I achieve a lot and you don't, I don't feel so good, because it's like a human cell. A human cell that's healthy helps cells around it that are not. The only cell that doesn't do that is the one that is the most feared cell in the human body, cancer. So we get to improve while each other improves. And this is what I'm all about. So I give myself as a servant of God, of Allah, to be able to know, love, and serve him. And in knowing, loving, and serving him, I get to serve everybody, because his creation is part of him. He created it. When we create everything as best we can, we are living a lot better life, and life gets to thrive. So that's what I'm all about. That's Kurt Kruger from Success Systems International.
Yeah.
Two. Okay, go for any question, answer, or whatever you have, because I'm ready to rock and roll.
I feel like now tell us about the Peace Lab, because Peace Lab is like really what we do want to talk about, and I honestly did find very cool, because when I checked it out, I was like, oh my god, I'm always sitting with my dad, so I'm like, oh my god, he named it Peace Lab, so it's like a science lab. You can just experiment, you can just go crazy and wild with it, and come up with wild ideas that may be what you say, the philosopher's stone, and do explain how you got that going in your mind as well. For peace.
Oh my God. We've been in what's called the Humanity Rising programs every day for about 190 days. Humanity Rising is a great podcast that happens every weekday. And then a man forms something called an after chat, because he's a techie. And so the people who are chatting during the live program, because you can see it on YouTube, you can see it on Ubiquity University, you can see it on other live streaming programs, because it goes to about at least 55,000 people that day. And then it's seen by so many millions later. But it's all about uplifting humanity in any which way it can happen, from economics to religion, not religion, spirituality, to the way we have education, because education does not educate. Educate means to bring forth wisdom. And you are taught, You are instructed, which means they're forming structures around you, those boxes nobody wants to be in. And when you are creative, instead of just doing your left brain, you can use both brains when you're really educated, and you can be not only more creative and inventive, you can also be open to your heart. And when you're open to your heart, what can't you do? Like the only picture that I have in my book called Winning Ways for Living is a picture of a man lifting over 7,000 pounds. Off a standard, he did it 3 out of 5 times. He was over 60 years old when he did it. He used to teach meditation at the United Nations. I gave a program at the United Nations on stress management. His name was Sri Chinmoy. I didn't know him personally, but I do know of his work. And this is one of the things about success systems, is that it's systems. And with systems approach, with a holistic approach, we can do wonders. Imagine if your IQ can go up 20 points just by taking proper supplementation. Would you take the proper supplementation? Because if you're normal IQ and you go up 20 more points, you're genius. Who wants to be a genius? Why not if you can? So nutrition is important. Physical fitness is important. Now, as a 94,000-year-old man, people have always told me that I look so young. Cool. It doesn't matter how I look, like I may have gray hair or little hair, but I'm really, really young at heart. Like you, this old soul in a young body feels 40 years old, and you're actually only 13. Well, I called my students at a middle school, these are 11 to 14-year-olds, I called them viejitos. In Spanish, viejito means little old one. And they said, no, you are. They're pointing up at me because I'm a lot older than them. But I said, look, think about it. When you were 3 years old, you looked up at somebody your age now, 14, and you thought they were old. That's Kruger's theory of relativity. Einstein had his, I got mine. So what's your theory?
About what exactly? About age.
About life or age or whatever. Because everybody has a theory. Like Vashishta was asked by Rama before he left to take over the kingdom in India. This is the myth in India.
Yeah.
He asked him, oh, Guruji, what is your highest teaching? And the guru, Vashishta, said, the world is as you see it. So it's either half full or half empty or the real answer. Most people don't know the real answer to that question. Is the glass half full or half empty? And the real answer shocks people when they get to it. And I'm not going to tell you the answer. If you want to put it in the chat or you want to email me, it's through successsystemsinternational.net, and you can answer that question. Or ask me for any kind of thing that I can help you with. Because I can with businesses, with education systems, with every walk of life. Because when we walk better, we feel better, we are better, we live better. And the planet thrives. And this is what I'm all about, thriving. And this is what you're about. That's why you're talking to me.
Yeah. You know, so I feel like one theory that I don't know, I have for life, and usually I'm just speaking a lot to my dad, and he's who knows all my things, because I even forget stuff, but it's like even in school, and there's so many places you just see people and they don't focus on implementing what they're needed to implement, and they would rather focus on praying for that. It's not that that's wrong. It's just
powerful.
It is very powerful. Imagine if it multiplies your effort by 1,000. Let's just say that. When you multiply 0 by 1,000, it's still a 0. There's nothing there. So a dua or a prayer, it's like an amplifier.
Yes.
It's like it's something. It's like 10x, right? If you have 10x, then it's like nothing. It's like nothing there. But if you have 10x, it's like 10 times, and then it's just so on. But I feel like people forget it, and I tell that to many people, say it's not. It doesn't work that way. I'm like, it's an amplifier, and I feel everybody knows that. If nobody does, then I feel like, because when you just go into, and I've been in many exams, and when you just go there, there's many different kind of people. One just heard that eating almonds make you smarter, so she has a bag of almonds. I used to be that at some point, and she just said, and she'd give it to everybody else. One is trying to ask for money. It's like, if you give this to me, I'll try to show you some things. There's that business thing going on there. And then there's one person that has a lot of du'as written and things to recite, and is also like it's like to everybody else, and she's also having other people recite it, and she's reciting herself, and she's going all out. Right? I have friends from different religions as well, so everybody's doing what their religions would say to pray. And I feel like everybody just forgets the fact that if they open their book and just revise with an open mind, with a calm one, that'll be a nice thing. Also with praying, of course, it's like an amplifier. I'm not saying that it's not. It's a very nice thing. It's only nice, and it's only useful when you're also doing something. So there's something to amplify. I think that is one thing that I invented, and for like 2 days straight, I was like, oh my God, I'm the most genius person on earth.
Well, that's it. The thing is about application. Without applying knowledge, there's no wisdom. You can have knowledge, but when you apply it, it can become wisdom. It's like when we focused on things, getting this thing and that thing, whether it's this car or that dress or this or that or whatever. When people are passing on to the next life and Allah gets to judge you, so to speak, nobody thinks about things. They all think about love and family and things like that. Without that, life is not worth living. Without community means communion. We are together. We are working together for one cause. But our focus in life has been on things. That separates us because, well, Bill Gates has a lot more things than I have. And he could actually literally give every single human being on the planet $2,000 a month and still be super rich. No problem. What does he do with it? This is the biggest issue that happens in life, is what we put our energy on, what we focus upon, we get. And so when we have a focus of peace with everything, everything with peace. When you go into a conversation, we converse with each other. We are in communion together, and we feel very blessed. And with this communication, we can then apply what we've communicated into our life to make our life better. So when we learn to not just pray, but to do what they call in India karma yoga, which is to have selfless service. Like every single conversation that I've had with every level of Pakistan and Nigeria and South Africa and Peru and Chile and so on, I don't get paid for. I give my time freely right now, and if people want to donate to me, fine. I will live a better life. I can feed my family better. I can help the homeless better. I can do the work for the Peace Lab better. And one of the things I want to point out is Peace Lab also stands not only for laboratory, where we research and develop and so on, but also a labyrinth. There's a very powerful labyrinth at the entrance to the Chartres Cathedral in Notre Dame in Chartres, France. And that design was made by the mystics of the Middle Ages to make you feel, when you walk this path into this labyrinth and out, you feel like you've been to the Holy Land. Imagine going to the Holy Land. Imagine going to Jerusalem or Mecca. You go there, you feel the presence of God so much. Why? Because the people who go there are so focused on God. The focus of all these people, the intention of all these people is to get closer to Allah, to feel Allah present in their life, in their heart, in their actions. And when we bring it back after the Hajj, and we bring it into our community is enriched because of the spirit that's in us, and we don't keep the spirit in us, holding it, possessing it. We let it out. We share it. And Allah sees us as a blessing. We're using His love for us to give to others. And this is what we learn in the Quran.
Yeah. And I think in the start, when you were talking about money, it's a question that I get a lot, or I see a lot, that people are in this life, they're running after the latest thing, and they're running after Chanel bags. And it's like, so, I don't know, it just gets to me. Because I feel like money can't make you happy. Even growing up, I got good examples to see when I was growing up, very rich people I saw. And I'm like, if billions can make somebody happy, then what can? I mean, come on. And it's not about the money. I know many people that have a lot of money, but it's when you have so much money, you go into neighborhoods, you see the difference. You go into so-called elite place. The neighbor wouldn't know the neighbor, right? And if you go into a fairly middle class, lower middle class, neighborhood, you see everybody knows everybody, and they're talking and they're playing. Even if they're playing on the streets, they're like a community rather than a community that's just so into themselves. And it's just when you start, I asked this at him, like, why doesn't money make you happy? It's because when you get more money, is that sense of community just goes away, because everybody's so busy in earning more, and that just never stops. I've seen people with so much money, and I'm like, that's a heck lot of money to even spend for like 7 generations, right? But they're like, no, we want more.
Yeah, you said 7 generations, and 7 generations is very special in the Native American tradition.
Yes.
They say that in 7 generations, we should always plan for that. Plan for 7 generations ahead. When we destroy the planet the way we have, instead of replenishing it, regenerating it, we have never regenerated our planet. We are like a caterpillar. Humanity has been like a caterpillar since we got to be, quote, and I say, quote, civilized, because we've been devouring the planet. We've been enslaving people. We've been doing so many crazy things for stuff. When we look at life in a different way, what does it take? Well, we have the pandemic right now. We are like the caterpillar that's been devouring the planet, and Allah gave us a chance. We can look at the pandemic as either a blessing or a curse. When you treat it as a blessing, when we treat it as a blessing, it becomes one. We look at what we can do inside while we're inside, and then when we get outside, we can be totally different. So we become in the chrysalis, this cocoon in nature, we become what's called the imaginal cells. We imagine what it would be like to be so much different than this devouring creature that we were. There's only some of them, but the some of them spread to more and more because before it was just all a bunch of black gook. If you open up a caterpillar when it first starts, it's just gooky. It's black and ugly. And when there's enough imaginal cells, it begins to change so much that it forms actually a butterfly. However, if you open the cocoon before it's burst forth, it can't fly. You're thinking you're doing it a favor, but it can't fly because it hasn't gotten strength enough to break through the cocoon, which allows it to be able to then fly. And what does it do then? It goes to all the flowers. It beautifies the sky when you look up in the air. I mean, it's so beautiful. Allah is so gracious. He gave us all the variety. We've been destroying the variety on the planet. 73 or so % of the planet's species have died in the last 100 years. Imagine what it was like before. I look today, I go on a place called Wizards Point above my house. I live on a hill. And I look out and there's this flock. It's sunrise. I look at this small flock of birds. It was the biggest flock of birds I'd seen in 2 years. It had like 11 birds. I used to see the whole San Fernando Valley covered with birds at 2 times a year, fall and spring. Because we had the geese coming from Canada south, and then we also had the sparrows coming up from South America at different times, and then going back, and it was this nice flow of birds flying back and forth at 2 times a year. Thousands of birds. Now you see maybe 10 here, maybe 8 there, whatever it is. It's so sad. So we get to actually follow Allah's plan and keep diversified, just like we can have all the different languages like Urdu and Hindi and Bengali and so on and so forth. Beautiful languages. Have the indigenous languages. It adds the flavor of life. It's like taking a different spice that you never used before and putting it into a food. Oh my goodness, it tastes so good. And so on and so forth.
Yeah. And I just realized it was when I was thinking of ice cream, which is very embarrassing. I was thinking about that in the session for a moment. And I had ice cream last night. It made me very happy. And I realized last night as well, and even before that I realized, is that when I was younger, or when I wasn't doing so many things, or just as all of us children, we just give a little piece of chocolate to a child. They'll be like, oh my God, thank you so much. We love you. Right? They're just so happy. And now it's because, I've been growing so rapidly. I feel like just the biggest of things that at some point would have seemed like, oh my God, everything is coming about and so many things, blah, blah, blah. They just don't make you happy that much, which is sad, and it isn't right. Because you see a child, they'll be so happy for anything. And as you grow up, they're like, okay, it's just a piece of chocolate. And then you grow up to be, it's like, oh my God, it's just a car. It's just a house. And then it just kind of grows and grows to be, oh my God, it's just a life. And I've seen people like that. And I know so many things just annoy me. And it's one of those things that does. It's when people, they're just so focusing on making that perfect life, that the moment that they've done, they just realize, but I've spent this entire life for that perfect life that I could never get if I wouldn't enjoy the moment.
There's the key, is that we've been indoctrinated. They put what I call blinders on. Blinders are used for horses to make sure they don't go astray and so on. Okay. So these blinders are by our society, by the indoctrination of the media, all the different kinds of media, social media, the TV, the radio, everything. It's indoctrination by the government to think you have to fear India as opposed to love India. It's a fear of America against Russia and so on and so forth. They put that separation demon in, the idea that things are more valuable than people. That, like, when you give a homeless person a few paisa, you give them some coins. That's nice. But when you talked with them, when you bring them into a little place where we can share food and talk with them, you get to find out what caused them to be where they are, and that they aren't drug addicts, or that they aren't this or that. You get to sense that their heart wants the same thing as you want. They want that connection. They want that love. But for some reason, they're down and out. There was a movie, Down and Out in Beverly Hills. It was a humorous movie in the 70s or 80s. I'm not sure when, but actually it was a series, I think. I'm not sure. But life is about connection. Connecting with Allah. That's the most important thing. Connecting with his creation. That's the next most important thing. Having his creation is not. Using the creation for what they call, there's a long word, it's amelioration, for the betterment of all, is even better. So human beings have been caterpillars. How do we become benefits for the planet? This is the key. What can we do to benefit the planet besides regenerative agriculture, regenerative society, regenerative economics, and education that really, truly educates? I always ask the question, how many of you in any country, I've been to only 30 countries, but I communicate with a lot more now. How many of you have ever been taught how to concentrate? And concentration is an important thing in education, isn't it? It's an important thing in life. When we focus on something, our mind can be like a laser beam. We focus that light, that energy, that force into one small area, and it has great power. It can measure all the way to the moon and back in millimeters, even less actually. And it can also destroy your body. It can fuse your retina so that you can see better. It has so many different abilities. It depends on how we use it. The planet can be used or it can be abused. We get to rejuvenate. We get to rejuvenate each other. We get to serve each other. We get to love each other. This is what the Peace Lab is about. It's about finding the little key that unlocks peace in the world. And when peace is unlocked in the world, it will take a quantum leap, geometric advance year after year after year. When you include living values education in education systems around the world, you will see quantum leaps in kindness. Now, kindness needs something called helpfulness. If you can be kind thinking and kind talking, that's sweet. But kind action is the important thing. Putting people into action, putting truth, wisdom is knowledge in action. And you are one of those people that does that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like my diva moment, and like all conversations or like interviews I have, it's like at least one time I have my diva moment when the person is appreciating me. So that's like my diva moment. I actually tried screenshotting all of them and like putting them in a collage for like, I don't know, my work celebration or something like that whenever it comes up. You know what? I feel like a lot of what you said in this start, it has to generalization. You know, I feel like generalization is actually toxic. That's literally how bad it is, because I feel if I come from a certain community, let's say in Pakistan, I'm a Punjabi, people will say, okay, yeah, you are fat. Yes, you speak very loudly. Yes, there's this and this. And I'm like, wait, where's the connection there? They can be Punjabis, any color, any size, speaking any way from different walks of life. And I feel like generalization is where we just come down.
Oh,
Yes,
totally.
there are people both in, let's, it's usually I wouldn't talk about it, but this thing about India and Pakistan, it really gets to me because I'm like, we eat the same food, we love the same movie, we have the same stars, we even wear the same clothes, we like the same fashion designers, we love everything the same because we are one and we have to accept it. I don't know, we just have
Each
to
other.
accept it.
Accept each other. And that's the crazy thing. It's all something that's been put on us by usually
Mhm.
the elite, the government, the military. The military thrives and only survives when people think they are so needed. So one of the ideas about the Peace Lab is that soon enough, and the sooner the better for everybody, we will make the Department of Defense, which always actually goes to war, they're not just defending because they have to have a reason to be able to be getting all the money they get, because it's many times about half of what the government spends for the whole country. When the military industrial complex isn't fed because they're not needed anymore, that's why this is a people's movement. It's like people diplomacy. That's what brought down the Berlin Wall. That's what broke up the Soviet Union, is the people diplomacy, is people coming together saying, oh, Punjabis are okay. They're not really all loud, and so on and so forth. And
Mhm.
seeing each other as a person. Because here in America, we are controlled by the separation demon. You're a liberal, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're male, you're a female, you're black. I have a friend who has like an ounce of black blood in him, so supposedly. And his mother, who looks so white that she was actually nominated and elected to be the Rose Parade Queen. This is a big thing in America, the Queen of the Rose Parade, which is a big thing in America on New Year's Day. But they found out that she had a great grandfather that was black. A grandfather, one out of the four. But she looked
Huge
like
grandfather.
she was stripped of her crown, and she didn't even get in the court of the Rose Parade Queen. They took her off the stage, everything, nothing. She didn't get that just because of that. So actually, this man who's I just mentioned his mother, he's going to be on Humanity Rising's program that we give between March 1st and 5th. And it's going to be powerful. And we look forward to having you on it too, possibly. We're going to
Yeah.
finalize that soon.
Yeah, Julie was saying, sorry, Leslie was saying somewhere about day 5. Would I
Yes.
be suitable? So, yeah, I mean, I'm always happy. And, I feel like it's generalization, like you said, not everybody who's on the street is a drug addict. They could have, lost their jobs. They could have lost their family. There could be a lot of things, but it's only if we communicate rather than just listening to what the media says and just like acting upon it.
Yeah.
And it's like people generalize me a lot, and I feel that people and even people from my distant family, they've been like, but you're friends with a person who's from India. I'm like, I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I've seen so many people, met so many people that are from India. And by one of my very good friends, Jigsaw, she's from India. I mean, I call her Jigsaw, that's how close we are. So yeah, she's from India, and I feel like we need to realize the fact that there's people, and it's not just based on what one or a few people in the community, or maybe let's just say majority of the people may be doing. There can be people different. Where I was born and I lived for, well, most of my life was a place that people know as where people would marry their daughters off very young. So they would be like, oh my God, you're 13 and you're not married. I'm like, I will marry. I will never get married. I'll marry myself. Don't worry about me, okay? I'll get married whenever I feel like, after 18, okay? But I feel like it's all about now, it's that we were kind of doing a more of a conversation about a documentary. It was a short documentary that people watched, and it was in Urdu and part in Pashto. Pashto, I don't understand. It's like very little that I get because I was born in the place where it's spoken, and I lived there for until I was 10. Um, and it was going on, and it was about child forced marriages, and they brought religion into it, which I didn't necessarily like, because it's like we're generalizing people from any religion, any caste, any creed. They can be married at a young age.
Right.
So we shouldn't generalize. And it's good that I was there, and I'm like, they're telling the entire community is married like that, and that's not the case. I've got friends that are like 31 that they're not married, and they're from the same community.
Yeah.
I was born into that community. I was born there when my mom and dad were there. And I'm unmarried. It's only very few people that do that. And that's because they don't have the right education and they don't think about it. And it's about, yeah.
There's there's a book called Drawdown. It has the 100 most effective ways to reverse global warming, not just stop it, but to reverse it. And number 6, now when it's called efficacious, that means it's the most effective ways to do it, including economically, socially, every aspect about it. Number 6 is educating women. When women are educated, they have less children, which really helps the planet a lot, because they basically educate their kids better, because there's less, because you have more money to spend on them. You also have more money to feed them. You have more money to be able to make them live a longer life. The reason people had more kids was because that was their social security. When they got older, the kids could then provide for them, because again, the family life in the subcontinent of there is all of an extended family. And it's a beautiful, beautiful life. I stayed at Ramkrishna Bajaj's home. He's a super billionaire kind of guy. His Bajaj Corporation, right? Bajaj Group. Heart of gold. He's a billionaire. That doesn't mean he's evil. People have concepts about that too. Gates may not at heart be evil. He may not be doing some things that are good, but there's a lot of good that he may be doing. But people look at only this bad part. When we look at the good in people, when we have, as they said in the 60s, the rose-colored glasses on, when you saw people, life is very colorful. It's colorful. The world is as you see it. So let's look at the good in people. There's more good in life that's happening now. There's really less violence in the world than ever before now. But the only thing you see in the media is all the violence, all the bad stuff, all the things about those people and that kind of people and all that. It's the separation stuff, because that gets people to watch it and pay attention to it. And then we get the violence on the movies. And that gets people to be thinking, oh, violence is not so bad. Big deal. I can see all these people starving in Africa. I can see all these people having this problem there. Oh, they had floods in Pakistan. Too bad. It's sad, but too bad. Holy cow. They're my brothers and sisters. All our relations. But who looks at that? It depends on how you look at life. Make life thrive, or just be surviving. Let's make it thrive. Let's give our gifts, because Allah gave us each a gift to give. Mine is through education. Yours is through maybe education, or maybe through your comedy that you use, or whatever. There's so much that we have as gifts.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's like, oh my God, you're giving so many references. I need to give one. And I just like had one. And it's like, I love this TV show. I'm so crazy for it. I've like watched it more than 30 times. And after 30 times, I lost count of it. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm still going to watch it. And it's Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. It's basically a series of books that was made into a Netflix original series. And in an episode of it was a lumber mill, I guess. It's like a person, it just kind of so happens to be that his leg was cut off, right? And it's like, oh, I mean, that's one more toenail that I don't have to, get done. And everybody, even, the actors, everybody was like, wait, what just happened? The guy's way too optimistic. But I feel like that was like optimism on a dangerous level somehow. But we need to have, yeah?
I met a man that had no arms and no legs. This guy gave the most inspiring talk about bullying you'd ever see. He also, when you got a hug from him, because I got to actually hug him, when he leans his head into you, you feel the best hug you've ever had. This man at one time wanted to commit suicide because he was bullied. He's from Australia. Great guy. His name is Nick Vujicic. You can see him on YouTube. He's got great talks. Fabulous man. At one time, he was very much of a proselytizer for Christianity. And then he got to be able to actually embody. He was more being like Christ rather than being a Christian. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. It's like talking about Allah and acting the way Allah would like you to act. Allah wants you to act through your heart. Allah wants us to be able to be together. And with this incredible love that he had to create us, we get to give that love back. And this is the biggest key in life, is love. And if anybody wants a beautiful description about love, they can email me through Success Systems International at .net, and I will send them something about love or about happiness, because I designed a class on happiness that 3 years later, kids are still doing the homework. This is at a ghetto school, at a school with some of the poor, so-called bad people. Those people are bad. They have the same hearts as we all have, but they've had a tough, tough life. But tough life also can make you stronger. And that's being able to forgive the unforgivable kind of thing. Make us stronger. I'm so blessed to be with you. I'm so thankful that we get to talk again. And I love the talking with you.
Yeah, it's so fun, right? And it's, I'm not going to mention anybody, but it's at times, it's a very few sessions though. It's like, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, oh my God, it's only 15 minutes. When they're going to be 30 minutes. And I'm waiting because at times, the people just get way too much talking into the terms that I don't understand. I just zone out. I mean, like, I admit it, I zone out between. But I think you just keep me so into the conversation. I can't get out. I can't even look through anything. I can't, think about a movie or something. So I feel like you really got me there. And it's beautiful. I just want to talk to you about something after we end the broadcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It was so amazing having you on. You can still, after we are done going live, you're going to see it as a normal post on my Facebook profile and also on my YouTube. That's where you can also upload it or share it on your page, start a watch party. So it seems that we're live and you can just enjoy it all over again and have your friends and family see, and then you'll be live with my post. Isn't that cool? So yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to end this broadcast now. It was amazing having you on. And I hope that me and Kurt, it's always, I'm like, we should do more sessions like this, and we just keep on doing more. So I hope this happens more and more often. So yeah, thank you so much and goodbye.
It's my pleasure.